Hey guys, Mama D here. I have 2 videos going and I think I look like Mugatu right now. Do you know who that is? Okay, so I'm coming to you live to talk to you about a couple things. And first and foremost, I'd like to talk about whether or not you are ready to compete. And again, this is just in my opinion, so you can do whatever you want, but I'm going to give you just my opinion, my feedback on some things that I've seen, heard, things that I've done myself. But first, let me tell you a story. 10 years ago, I decided to hire my first online coach, Julie Laurie. You can Google that if you want to check her out. She's in another state. And I had at this point already been interested in competing for years. I had bought every fitness magazine known to man, Oxygen, Muscle and Fitness, Hers, all the magazines, and competing was always on my radar. It was something I knew eventually I was going to want to do at some given point, terrified out of my mind, but it was like this burning desire that I had always had to compete. So I got on the internet back then, Googled online coaching, found Julie, and I hired this woman I'd never met before. At the time, I had definitely had gym experience. I'd gone in with programs that I'd ripped out of magazines because at the time the internet wasn't as wealthy of information as it is now. So I would take the latest gym program out of a magazine, just go to the gym, try stuff out. I had hired some personal trainers here and there, had done some like personal training boot camps and things like that, that I'd hired some local people to help me out, but nobody really around the area was doing competition prep. And I couldn't find anybody. So I had found this girl online, and I'm actually gonna be releasing the photos January 1st, because that's the day that my competition team waitlist applications open. So I want everybody to kind of see where I was 10 years ago when I hired my first online coach. Now, when I hired her, she had like a lifestyle coaching program, and she also had a competition package. And I knew nothing of shows. I had never been to a bodybuilding show in my life. And I said, look, I just want to look like I want to compete. So just give me the tools for that. So I hired my first coach. She gave me workouts. She gave me the nutrition, meal plan program to follow, supplements that I needed to buy, et cetera, et cetera. And honestly, you guys, I followed that program probably to about 80%. It was a meal plan, and at the time I had really no nutrition knowledge whatsoever. So I was just eating what was on the plan, and it was not how I was used to eating. Mind you, I come from a very processed food, nutrition background with my family, and just the way that I was raised and the way that I raised my kids. I mean, we were eating like corn dogs and fish sticks and macaroni and cheese and things like that. So when I got a meal plan and it was like chicken breast and asparagus and broccoli, I was like, how the hell do you cook this stuff? Like, I don't know. Like, I was just throwing shit in the oven and like hoping that it was going to taste great. So I stuck to that plan probably about 80%. Now, I had some pretty great results. It was a 12-week program. I checked in with her, I believe it was every 2 weeks, with uploading photos and things like that. And I had actually had a photo shoot that I was doing for Rock 96.7. It's an ancient times, it was 10 years ago. And I think I lost 15 pounds and I looked great. However, I was super just kind of all over the place with it. It wasn't like some really hard and fast goal like I was going to be on stage, but I knew I was going to be in this photo shoot and I wanted to trim up a little bit. So long story short is I had something that I was like anchoring to. I had this hard and fast goal. I knew I was going to be in this photo shoot, in this calendar photo shoot. So I outsourced it and hired some help instead of just trying to piece it together and figure it out on my own, because it was just proving to be more difficult just trying to figure stuff out by Googling and doing all the things. So long story short, I had some experience under my belt. I knew how to train. I knew how to work out. I knew, cardio things and what to do. So when she gave me the instructions, I was like, okay, I'm just going to run with this. So if you are considering competing and it's on your radar for the future, whether that's 2020, whether that's with me, whether that's with someone else, my advice to you is don't wait to get in shape until you pick out a show date. So you need to start that process now. Building muscle, sculpting and toning, if you will, takes time. It takes you to have the proper program set in place for your goals, whether it's going to be bikini or figure. You need to be training appropriately for that. And you guys, it's boring sometimes. You know, I have new clients that I've signed on over the years, and I send them their programs and they're like, I'm really bored. I've been doing this program for like 2 weeks. And I'm like, get used to it, because the basics are what works in hypertrophy, in building a physique and things like that of that nature in terms of bodybuilding, at least from my experience, anecdotally with myself, with my clients, with people that I've known that competed. It's just what works. Now, for example, if you are going to be doing a bench press, you can do it with different implements. So a dumbbell, cables, a barbell, and things like that. But the concepts are going to remain the same. Now, the muscles are going to be targeted a little bit differently depending on the implements, but the exercises are pretty standard, and they're boring, and it's not rocket science. However, we want to chase the next shiny new object, and I was guilty of that too. When I hired my coach, I was like, I'm going to try to get fancy and creative and change things up, and I'm going to do like 40 reps instead of the 15 she has here. And I was just spinning my wheels for a very, very long time. So in essence, the process is day in, day out, doing the program, doing the training, eating the food, and setting yourself up for success early on by implementing those basics. It's almost a sin how easy and basic it is. It's just not easy to adhere to it for most people, because they get bored over time, or they're stale, or they're like, I don't like leftovers, I'm tired of eating the same thing. So I understand that, and I get it, and I'm not saying you have to suffer through competition prep or bikini prep or things like that, but you do have to get a little bit humbled by the fact that it's going to just be a repetitive process of doing the work and putting the time in and being consistent with it before you see results. Ultimately, we see ourselves every single day, so it's hard to gauge progress. So I currently have some clients right now that are probably watching this, hard wink, that send me their check-ins every couple weeks and have been training with me for a year, 3 times a week, and they're just like, oh, I don't think anything's changing. And then you guys have seen this in my Instagram stories or in my posts, even on my Facebook, is their before and afters are tremendous, but it's just they see themselves every day. It's kind of hard to tell. They're like, yeah, things fit differently. My body feels like it's changing, but I don't see it that dramatically. Now, I also have had clients that started a year ago, and they train with me for 3 months, and then they give up. And I'm like, no, don't do it. Like, they want that goal so bad. They want to compete, or they want to really have like dramatic body change. And they only stay with me for 3 months. And it's like, they come and train with me, and the program changes every month, but they're just like, they're not dripping in sweat like, some big name type of style of workouts that I won't say. And, they want that instant gratification of like, they need to be dripping in sweat, or they need to be sore all the time to make it feel like they're making any sort of change. And that is the furthest thing from the truth. Soreness is actually highly predictive of genetics more than anything. So I have some crazy, super strong genetic freak clients that are never sore, but yet their numbers keep increasing on their strength in terms of strength training. Their bodies keep changing and morphing, and they're like, I'm not really sore ever. That's great. That doesn't mean you're not progressing. You don't have to be sore. I can think of maybe on both hands in my entire life the days that I've been sore from a back workout. I just genetically don't get sore in my back muscles. It's very, very rare that my back will be sore. My legs and my glutes typically will. Sometimes biceps never get sore. So it's going to be very specific to the individual. You may never be sore. You may always be sore. Sometimes, it could be genetic related. It could be recovery related. Are you sleeping well? What are your hormones like? What's your supplementation? Are you eating enough protein? All these things factor in, not just the program itself. So keep that in mind as well. The other thing is I wanted to touch on real quick is reasons not to compete are to get back at an ex-boyfriend or an ex-husband, or you want to get in shape, so you're going to set competing as your goal. You should probably already be in decent shape, have some good muscle tone already before you decide to compete. That will make the process much easier for you. Instead of deciding, I'm going to pick this show in June, I haven't touched a weight ever in my entire life, and I'm just going to see what happens. It's going to be much easier if this is already a part of your lifestyle, if you already lift regularly, if you already eat clean a majority of the time, and I use the word eat clean loosely, like you eat whole sources of protein, whole foods and things like that on the majority of the time. You already are used to maybe some supplementation, maybe you take like multivitamins and protein and things like that. And these things you're already kind of doing, you already live a remotely like healthy lifestyle. Competing is going to be that next level. It's going to be challenging. It will challenge you, no doubt, but it's going to be easier for you rather than this is just something absolutely brand new you've never done before. You have no clue as to what it is or what it entails, and you just want to like jump in. Not saying it's not possible, but it's going to be definitely more challenging. You should not compete if you are going through periods of high stress. So if you are going through relationship issues, sick elderly parents, sick children, family drama, financial drama, it will only get worse during competition typically. Specifically financially, you know, competition is a very expensive hobby. It is something that I love to do because I don't do other things like shop on the weekends and spend my money on expensive handbags or, you know, fancy things for my car and things like that. This is just my expensive, fun hobby that I do. It's not really making, you know, you don't win any cash awards for competing until you become pro status. So it's an expensive hobby. You have to think about things like coaching if you decide to go with a coach, gym membership if you are going to go at it solo. If you decide to hire a personal trainer, that's going to cost you something. Supplements are going to cost you something. That is just like the base level stuff. The food that you're going to be eating. Granted, everybody needs to eat food, but on prep, things become a little more diligent. You have to clean things up and you have to be more consistent with your food. The other things to consider, which I did a whole video on my YouTube, and I also have a blog post about it, is the expenses when it comes to competing. So I'm not going to detail it here because I already did a video on it, but it can run you anywhere from $1,200-ish, sometimes a little bit less than that, to a few $1,000s, depending on how elaborate you want to go with your competition goodies and things of that nature. So if financial stress is an issue for you, not a good time to compete, not a good thing to take on as a hobby. If you tend to start things that you don't finish, this is probably not a good sport for you either, because it's just going to end up frustrating you and make you feel like one more thing to add to the list of stuff that you aren't going to follow through with. So if you feel like this is something that you get more excited about starting a program than actually doing a program. I've been there multiple times where I've signed up for shit and I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be fun. And honestly, you guys, sometimes when I sign up with my or I tell my coach, like, I'm going to do this show or whatever, I get more excited about, like, the show, the end process, and then the mundane, like, in, day out stuff, I'm like, do I really want to do this? Why am I doing this again? And you're going to have those days. So it's just knowing that it's not always going to be glitz and glam and super exciting, and some days you're going to feel like, is this shit even working? And it's part of the process. It takes time. And a lot of times we need longer to prep than we think we need. So most of the time, people will seek out a coach when they want like a 12-week prep, when they probably need 16 weeks, sometimes 20 weeks, sometimes they need 6 months to get their metabolism ready before they even go into a diet. I've worked with clients like that as well too. So lots of things to consider. I am not standing on a soapbox, I'm sitting, but I have been through this journey 11 times. I'm competing a couple times this year. I've taken multiple clients through this journey as well. My inbox, my DMs are open doors. So if you have questions related to competing, you want another topic, I have a list of questions that have been coming through my emails about competing. So If there's something that you're questioning, please feel free to DM me, send me a message. Again, it's only from my perspective. So there's lots of coaches out there that maybe offer different perspectives, but that is just from my experience in terms of myself going through the process and coaching clients. So let me know, hit me up, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Do you guys somebody told me today I look like an LOL doll. I don't know what those are. And I also think I kind of look like Mugatu. I think that's from Zoolander. Do you know who that is? Tell me if you know. Okay, friends, have a great evening, and I'll see you on the next video.